This podcast is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Seek the assistance of your healthcare provider for medical conditions. The views and opinions of podcast guests do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of the Clifton Health Department or City of Clifton.
Welcome to Clifton Health on Air. I'm your host, Danielle.
And I'm your co-host, Lauren. And with us today is Tom Sadowski, social worker, and Lamont Williams, Center for Adult Transition Program at Passaic County Community College, also known as CAT. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much for being here. We're super excited to have you here, Lamont. And it's really good to, take time out of your day to come on this podcast and share with our residents what you do at the Center for Adult Transition Program. And so can you tell us what it is and what you do there?
Absolutely. First, I want to thank you all for having me here. It's an honor. So the Center for Adult Transition Program, it's a supportive bridge program designed to help young students with disabilities transition from high school and into adulthood. So we're focusing on, building independence, workforce readiness, and some of those life skill combinations for supporting our students and really guiding them to the next chapter.
Great, thank you. And Tom, how did you meet Lamont?
So I met Lamont back in 2023. I was in the process of finding vendors for our first disability special education services resource fair. And really, just Googled different vendors and services in our area that coincide with the resource fair and reached out to them via email. We had a meeting and, we've networked since then, yeah.
Basically. And it's awesome. And we're going to talk about kind of the partnership we have here at the Clifton Health Department and with your program, the CAP program. But can you just talk about generally why is it so important to have this program?
Yeah. So programs like CAT they're very crucial because they fill a gap, right? Like once students age out of the traditional school systems, many lose access to some of that structured support. And so vocational trainings, especially in areas like culinary arts and other, programs, it gives them purpose, community, and a path forward. And, advocacy and funding and those things in that nature really, puts this population to the forefront. So, it's really important, for programs not only like myself, but across the state of New Jersey. And, really proud to say, even though there's a lot of work to be done, New Jersey is one of the states that has, the most programs across 18 community colleges. There are different Center for Adult Transition programs out there. So, we're doing the work, but a lot of the work, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, which I'm very fortunate to be a part of for sure.
Awesome. Thank you. Why culinary arts? Is there a story behind that?
Oh my gosh. It goes back far. So culinary arts is like my passion, as well as working with like youth development. I was the kid growing up where instead of going outside with my cousins and my brothers to play, I would be in the kitchen looking, at my aunts and my grandma, seeing what they're making and asking them what the ingredients are in that food, and tasting the food and trying it. So it really stemmed from like such an early phase, and it didn't become into fruition professionally until recently. I worked a nonprofit for quite a while, and then I decided to leave that job, and I went to culinary school, and I took a big risk. And from there, I just worked in different kitchens. I loved, being surrounded by food and seeing how it connects us and bridges the gap, Food really, it brings us together. It tells a story. It tells us about our culture. It tells us about our history. And it's a way to, break the ice, amongst all the different experiences that we do have. So it really holds near and dear to my heart with working with like food.
Awesome. No, I love food. So that is also really great. And it's kind of wonderful hearing that you took that leap and that jump, and that must have been really hard.
Yeah, it was
but
rough.
You wouldn't be in this room today, and you wouldn't be helping so many people. Can you talk about how many people you help with this program at Passaic County Community College?
Yeah. So this program, we originally got the grant in 2023, in the fall. I came on board, you know, early 2024, and we've seen, oh my gosh, so many cohorts of students. I would say roughly about 20 to 30 students we've got that have gone through our program, all coming from different parts of the state, and yeah, like we're you know a 4 day a week program where the students are with us in the kitchen 2 days out the week, and then the other 2 days out the week they're in the classroom with their life skill coach, learning about soft skills, resume building, mock interviews. We're really keeping them busy, you know, really getting them to learn some of those skills and practice those skills that they've learned. So, yeah, we're you know, even in this stage right now, we're very fortunate where we're getting applications coming through, where we may look into seeing ways that we can expand, whether in culinary arts or in other topics as well. But yeah, very excited. Love this population of students to work with. They really inspire me and really make me think differently about how we move about the world and what perspectives and how we see the world. You know, so yeah, it's been a journey.
Awesome. Tom, can you talk about why centers for just like the Center for Adult Transition Programs are so important to this community specifically?
Of course. First, I have to commend Lamont on what he's doing. I know I've attended a lot of his mocktail events that he does at the Wanacue campus, and his program is second to none. So kudos to everything he does there. It's very important. The population is increasing year by year. I think the current number now is 1 in every 31 children that are born with some form of developmental or cognitive disability. So when you put that into the long term, you have to think about the workforce development, right, in that number. We have to make sure we're educating the employment sector. We have to make sure we're creating opportunities for individuals that do have a developmental disability or an intellectual disability, because those numbers are only going to increase. And if society and the workforce is not ready for that, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So it's tremendously important, and I commend everything that most colleges in the state of New Jersey are doing with their transition centers and their transition programming.
I think this is a question for both of you. What is your why? What inspires you to pursue this profession that you are in?
Ooh, that's a good question. My why. My why stems from. So, I'll backtrack a bit. So, growing up, you know, I'm originally from Newark, and growing up, I just knew you go to school and, you know, you figure it out. But I was afforded an amazing opportunity through programs like NJ Seats, which were enrichment programs that just opened my eyes and really gave me the opportunity just to travel abroad and to really see the world. And I was the underdog, and someone saw an opportunity in me and saw some potential, and they really pushed me forward. And I'm very grateful for that. And I think that goes into my why of like why I do the type of work that I do is because this population, they're the underdog. They are folks who have immense potential, as you see, you know, when given the opportunity to show up and show out, that they really come through, right? And, you know, even to Tom's point of like just this population, it's going to continue to grow. They're going to be more and more, you know, just there, right? And prevalent in society. So we, as, you know, our responsibility, our call to action is to how do we support and integrate this community? How do we think about, you know, supporting the underdogs? And it's just very gratifying when the hard days, the easy days and the hard days, right, of working, with this population, seeing the end result, right, of them, whether it's gaining that confidence, whether it's them getting that job or taking a class for the first time at a school or taking transportation for the first time by themselves. Just seeing that inspires me, and it really tells me, we got to pass it forward. And I think that goes into like why I do the things that I do.
I was told when I finished college, be the difference you want to see in the world, right? I had no idea what I wanted to do after graduating, so I took it upon myself to try an internship in Glen Rock at the time, and it was an adaptive fitness facility that had clients with special needs, physical disabilities, different things. And the amount of information and things that I took in from that experience, talking to families, really started my journey in the field of disabilities and special education. From that point, I started to work in a special education school for 4 years where I met so many families, even families that I currently work with till this day with their children. And the stories you hear from them, the things that they experience, the stressors that they go through on an everyday basis, no one really understands, and you really can't until you put yourself in their shoes. And just seeing the tremendous progress that their children have made with myself and with other professionals in their lives that have shown the same amount of passion, commitment, and dedication to their child and family really just goes to show you how far you can go in the long run.
Thank you both for sharing. This is an amazing episode because our listeners, they might be thinking, I don't know where to go. I don't know who to reach out to, or I don't know if they have a child who is on the spectrum and they're coming to end of their senior year of high school. What can they do next? Can you answer that question? What are some opportunities for students about to, have that end of high school, end of school, public school transition? What can they do?
I think it's important for families and students to know that, first off, a student is eligible to stay within the school district also until the age of 21. So if that is the route the families or parents want to take, it's something that the school district will arrange by law. But the parents should also speak to their counselors, their child study team, different members of the school district to, just help guide them in the right direction.
Awesome.
And I would say in addition to that is, starting early, like going to transition fairs, like, some of the amazing events that, I've been to have been organized through Tom. He really brings together a lot of resources and organizations. So really, doing that research as early as possible to see what's out there. And something as well is, I would say, looking to every community college across the state and seeing and asking what is their Center for Adult Transition and what they have to offer, because each one is very unique and different if that's the route as well. But yeah, I would say those things.
Can you talk about your partnership with the Clifton Health Department or the Clifton or Little Falls community?
Oh my gosh, it's been such a fun partnership where, like, when Tom was talking about when we met, I was like, wait, 2023? That's crazy. Time goes by so quickly. I'll talk about the partnership with the Clifton Health Department. So it started just through conversations of, Tom and I just attending each other's events. And we did this amazing series where we did a series of workshops with this population, and we did some food workshops. And something I wanted to mention as well is because there's never enough to do, right? Especially when supporting this population. I have my own catering company / instruction company where I do work with this population, and I also hire students. So I've hired one of my students who've gone through my program to get that hands-on experience, and also, for them to get paid as well, which is great when we can do that. But that partnership was so much fun. We did a pizza making workshop. We did a charcuterie board workshop, and then it culminated with a mocktail party where we had students make a little tea station. a student who made their own carrot cake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she has her own business. Shout out to her because she is doing amazing. I ordered a cake and it was fabulous.
Wow.
Yeah, that was so much fun. And from that actually stemmed another partnership through Tom. He connected me with the Little Falls Library, where what we do is a different workshop that is, welcome to all. It's, we are very inclusive to all learning styles month. And then, we're doing some fun stuff throughout the year. So some really, Clifton folks, they're awesome people.
Yeah, I have to say, the first time I attended one of his classes at Little Falls Library last spring, I believe it was amazing. The students came from right across the street, right? You had about 8 to 10 students, I think, in that group.
Yep.
And I believe it was a pizza workshop that day. But just to see how engaged and focused and how much fun they were having was amazing to see. People think about it, they're just making something, they're going to eat it. But no, like the amount of focus, the amount of instruction to detail and things you have to follow, right, to make it correctly is really, really just eye-opening. And the way Lamont taught it was great. So I commend him on that. And yeah, he did a phenomenal job with us with our adaptive cooking class. We had a 6-week program here in February. 15 students, and each week was a different recipe. And then at the very end, we had a mocktail for all the families. They were able to take pictures, enjoy some treats, and different things that they were taught to make. So phenomenal partnership.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I just see the pictures, so I'm not really sure how fantastic the food is, but I'm sure it is absolutely amazing.
I'll bring you a sample next time or something. We'll figure
so much. But no, all the smiles on all the participants' faces kind of tell it all. So we want to thank you so much and give you your flowers for helping the Clifton and Little Falls residents and all the students that you help.
Thank you.
But I'm going to pivot a little bit, right? With all success and all of this, are there any challenges or barriers that you have seen, any barriers people face with these programs?
Yeah, and I think you're so right. It's important to talk about that because that plays into the advocacy of it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that next.
And some of the challenges, I would say, comes down to funding. In order to run these robust programs, it's important that we have staffing, we have, facility, we have, the things that we need to support this population because, this population needs a little bit more support. So I think, thinking about, ways to explore funding options. So, for example, we're a grant-funded program. So, we get state funding, which has been amazing and great through OSHI. But, just thinking about long-term, thinking about growth, how we can support more students, that's been something that's been a challenge. And also, changing those perspectives, with what we do. Some of our students end up being employed. We have, students working at Jersey Mike's, another student working at the Montville High School as a prep cook, and another student at the hotel across the street. It's the Holiday Inn. So, and they've been phenomenal with welcoming our students, really training them and supporting them. But sometimes that doesn't happen as easily, right? There's a piece of, educating and letting people know that these students aren't a liability, right? That with the proper support and training, they can rise to the occasion. So that's been kind of a challenge there, just trying to bridge that gap and let folks see the potential there.
And how would you do that?
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-approach to it. So part of it is really when we're doing our events, like our mocktail party, inviting folks into the space. Our students, they've cooked the food, they're serving the food. When people can see what the students are doing, then that really kind of, fills in that gap, right? So doing that, capturing that information, a lot of it is just really me going out there, and, having those uncomfortable conversations, creating these flyers, showing the facts, right? Of, one of the most important facts I tell employers is that this population is the population that will stay at a job the longest, that will show up on time, that will probably be early, and are very reliable, because we find that a lot of our students on the spectrum as well is that they love that consistency. They love to feel, part of the community and to add to the community. So when they are given that opportunity, they show up and shine. Reaching out to local officials, connecting and partnering with other institutions, and really, just spreading the word and just getting yourself out there, because there's a lot of great programs that are happening, but I feel that a lot of folks don't know. We're all in different nuggets, so they don't know the great things. So we have to kind of tell them that story and show them that story.
Why is it important to advocate for more programs like this? I know you already talked about there are a lot of programs, but a lot of people don't know where to find it. How can we at the health department advocate for these programs, and then how can a general resident advocate for more programs like this?
Yeah, I would say the Clifton Health Department is doing a phenomenal job of bridging that gap. I think something that, you see with the work that Tom is doing and, with others as well, is that they're doing workshops, right? You're presenting this information to the public, where a lot of these programs are either very minimal cost or free, right? So I would say you guys are kind of like the example of showing, what's out there and letting folks know, because as what Tom mentioned, people show up to the events that you do. So like your organization and names precedes itself. I would say just, providing those spaces for this population, really, even taking it a step further, like reaching out to our elected officials, right, and really inviting those folks into the space as well. And that's something that we do as well. Like when we invited the senator, we invited our representative for our grantor, because those are the folks that push the pen, right? So really connecting and bringing in those folks who make decisions into the conversation. They know how to advocate it in the way, but it makes for a better case if we can give them the tools that empower them to empower us to empower our students.
No, absolutely, you're right. And it's always good to invite them and to have them in the space so they can advocate on your behalf. I guess there's just a lot of stigma out there. So how would you kind of derail that misinformation that a lot of people think is out there regarding people on the spectrum?
So I think education is a key component, right? So here at the Clifton Health Department, what we did in the past was we had different professionals come and do an open, free forum for the public about different topics relating to special education and disability services. Anywhere from, caretaking for a parent, or basically, IEP policy and procedure, and, just what you need to know. But education isn't the only thing. We're trying to create a more inclusive environment, a more inclusive society in a sense, right? 20 to 25 years ago, we didn't have anything compared to what we have today. If you were labeled as autistic or disabled, you were treated completely different, right? Whereas today, you're treated more inclusive. People still don't fully understand to the extent of everything, but, things are getting better. So I think it's just, setting an example, creating more program opportunity, and just, educating the general public, exposing them to the topic itself.
Absolutely, and that's so important. And next, we're going to talk about some of the upcoming events that you have or will have in the future. I know you talked about a few of them.
So yes, we have some really exciting events coming up. The first Saturday of each month, we are doing a workshop at the Little Falls Library, where, for more information, you can definitely check out the website. I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for all that you do. Just a quick recap.
Yeah, so the Center for Adult Transition, also known as CAT, it's a supportive bridge program for young adults with disabilities to transition from high school into adulthood in the college setting, focusing on life skills and particularly culinary arts, which is one of my favorites.
Awesome. Thank you. Any final words?
Thank you so much for having me here. This has been amazing.
Yeah, huge thank you to Lamont for partnering with us for resource fairs and programs, and kudos to everything he does for his students.
Absolutely. We're giving you your flowers, and we want to say thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. If any resident has any questions, do you have a good email, or can they just find it on the Passaic County website?
Yeah, so my information can be found on the Passaic County website. They can also reach out to me through email, yumsforthesoul@gmail.com, if you're ever interested in, learning more.
And we're so happy that you were here as a guest. Thank you so much, Lamont.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lamont.
All contact information will be in the description of this bio. Lauren, take us out.